Recording in progress.
Oh, thanks, Kai. Apologies, have we what time do you want to do a break? 42. Right. Maybe 11. Yeah. Just give me a holler of 11. We'll just do a 5-minute. Yep, we'll see. You just wait, Steve, it all catches up with everyone. Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Christmas edition of the Risk and Assurance Committee. I just wanted to publicly acknowledge Mayor Max's 60th birthday. We were talking earlier this morning about swapping lessons in ageing. And I offered the view that a very wise person once said to me, which is that ultimately you only need 3 things in life: something to do, something to look forward to, and someone to love. So I think we're both blessed in that regard. So Max, have a great day. I'm sorry that you've had to start it with a risk and assurance meeting. Anyway, let's move on. We've got no apologies, everyone's here. Kai, we've got no late items. Any declarations in terms of conflict of interest this morning? Can I just add to the interest register, Kai, that I've just very recently been appointed to the Montana Group, which is a very large privately-owned catering company that operates in Waikato and in Auckland. Okay, let's turn now to the confirmation of the minutes. Now, I just note that we've got no decision reports today. We do have a number of information-only reports. And then after we close, because there's no public excluded today. Okay, so we've got no public excluded today. We've got, we do have some workshops where we'll deal with a couple of the strategic risks. I think we're going to be hearing from Ross and Graham, and then of course we'll have our quarterly conversation with the Chief Executive. Okay, let's turn now to the minutes of the last meeting. Okay. Yeah. Good. I hadn't even started, so I couldn't have been anything I said. Right, the minutes from the last meeting. Does anyone have anything they want to correct before I get into questions? Okay, so I just had some update questions either for you, Graham, or for Tanya. There's a reference in the IAN's update item, audit update, noting item options around a possible shared service with Waipa and Waitomo district being assessed in relation to building consents. Okay. How is that progressing?
Morena koutou. So we are nearly at the point of signing an agreement. We have broadened the shared service out to cover regulatory services, which could include planning, environmental health, animal control, which we already have an arrangement in place, compliance monitoring, those sorts of things as well. So the core essence of it is around building control, but we've broadened the scope out. We are in conversations, and we've just made a financial contribution to continue those with a broader grouping across the Waikato Bay of Plenty, which has been facilitated by CoLab. So we are in that grouping as well, as we see some benefits around resilience and also our ability to offer our services to those councils who are struggling with capacity at the moment and capability, because all of our team are qualified to the highest standard that you can get in the building control area. So there's two different shared services going on at the moment.
Wonderful. That's great. Thanks, Tanya. So the next item is item 72. Just to remind everyone, we've got a point here that while strategic risk is overseen by the committee, operational risk is overseen by the Chief Executive. And I did note that I wanted to see the next strategic risk report to contain a statement that there were no material changes in operational risks. I don't think I saw that, Graham. Could you just make a note to ensure that your future reports have that, please? We could make a note of that. Thank you. The next thing was just maybe an update either from Brendan or Graham. I seem to recall that in the last debtors report, there was a reference to a decision still to be made by the council in relation to development contributions, which resulted in, I think, a pause on collections of DCs. Can you, Brendan, just give us a quick heads up on where things have got to since our last meeting?
Yeah, so I guess there's two answers to that. The development contribution discussion is still ongoing. The staff are doing some work on the policy update. With regard to the particular debtor, they've agreed that they actually owe the money and they're willing to pay it, but they have some things they need to do first before they go to pay. So you'll notice when we get to my report that it's moved from that, the line it was into the one above, where we're negotiating payment at this point, because we're waiting on them to finish the things.
Okay.
Discussion to have.
Okay, thank you. We'll get to that. We've got a few questions on that report. Okay, that was the only questions I have. So on that basis, then could we resolve to accept the minutes as confirmation of true and correct record? I'll move that, and Councillor Hughes will second that. Thank you. Right. Let's turn now to the health, safety and wellbeing report. Noah, welcome. Good morning. Thank you very much for your report. You promised and you have delivered. I thought this was an excellent report. Thank you. Got a few questions, but you said that you would offer some metrics, and you've done that, so I appreciate that. Is there anything, Noah, before we get into questions, that you'd like to, assuming that the report's been read, there's anything you want to add to what you said?
There's probably just two things I want to add, is that the training metrics, which show in some cases not 100%, some of those instances, like with the 86% rate with one of them, is just one person that needs to do one piece of training. So therefore they're very close regardless. So some of the metrics don't necessarily reflect fully what that looks like. And the last thing was said that we would be doing a fire drill before the end of the year, and that's been completed. So just acknowledge it.
Great, thanks, Noah. Okay, colleagues, questions for Noah?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Noah. Yeah, thank you for the report. Yeah, just 4.12, I just wanted to say thank you to you and to the staff for seeing that reduction in the incidents and near misses. I think that's an indication that that things are working in that health and safety area. So well done there, and that's a very good graph to look at. The only other one I was going to ask about was on 4.23, where it mentions the audit of the community facility shed, and that'll occur early in 2025. That's that's still on. That's happening.
So the shed has been audited for health and safety. It's more the hazardous substance, so that's still planning to go ahead. To be audited, to look at all the chemicals in there, to make sure we've got a full register.
Right. And is there any, in the case of a chemical spill or anything like that, is there any, what gear is provided for the staff in terms of protecting? Is there any breathing apparatus there, or
so relative risk of what the chemicals there are wouldn't require an apparatus. Where we do have those risks, say with chlorine gas, we provide a mask with filters, and that's also being reviewed at the moment whether we go to a full BA breathing apparatus setup. So
okay, that's great. I think it was mentioned in the previous meeting we had too that the if you needed any help with the BA stuff, to the local fire brigade might be able to assist, being experts in that area. So there's a resource there that you can tap into, perhaps.
Yeah, that would be great.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Jeffries. Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Hey, no, here you go. Hey, just following on from Councillor Jeffries, who said about the near misses trending down. It'd be fair to say that that's more because previous to you coming along, they actually had targets for near misses every month. So it was a bit of a bugbear of mine previously, was that you can't target near misses. So by getting rid of that, you're not forcing staff to basically make stuff up, if you, for want of a better term. But so it's so due to the fact that the near misses basically an unplanned event, getting rid of those targets is what I probably wanted to see, really. So then you actually get what's reported rather than having to make stuff up. So it's pleasing to see that. So it's great.
Yeah, I think it's also great that we don't set targets, but then also if we, we don't over-report on those targets. We'll go, or can't, I don't want to go over that because that looks bad.
Yeah.
So then it's not important. So we're just allowing them to report whatever, and then we'll then just get that.
As I've said in previous meetings, so the company that I work for, we have near misses as reporting, but we use things called good catches, which they're targeted because it's something that you can actually report as anything you see that may need fixing or something like that. Those can be targeted, but the misses will never be able to do that. So it's good to see that they've come off that anyway. So thank you very much. It's good.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No, just a couple of questions. The use of health, safety and wellbeing committees, fantastic and really important. Do they keep minutes
Yes, we keep minutes of each meeting.
and actions coming out of those committee meetings? How are they monitored in terms of closing them out?
So it's monitored by myself and Tracy.
Right.
And then we follow it up. So the same with for example, corrective actions. That's what me and Tracy.
Okay,
So
thank you.
just to put in a bit more context as well. So what the health and safety system we're trying to set up and make sure we're maintaining is that there's a 2-check process with a lot of what we're doing. And this is also with that is that, we put the responsibility on managers or someone else to do it, but then Tracy and I are doing that double check. So if they miss it, we catch it. If we miss it, they catch it. So we're trying to set that up.
Okay. Increasingly, there are apps that can be used in the health and safety space to enable more efficient, effective and quicker and easier capturing of information. Is that something that you're looking into?
Yes. So Tanya and I have been working or put a business case together, and so we're just in that process of looking at it, and that's got a health and safety component within that to go and scope out. So we're just looking at that now.
Great, excellent. I had an extensive briefing on health and safety issues and food safety issues at Montana yesterday. So they've got a tablet-based system. I think we have 33 sites, so it's a heck of a lot to cover, but seem to have a good system in place. And then the final question, which is the one that we were discussing yesterday as well. Ultimately, culture eats compliance for breakfast, doesn't it? In the sense that if you've got a good culture, then and people understand that fundamentally everyone's job is to look after their colleagues, look after each other. So that goes to the question of near misses. It's not necessarily a good thing that near miss reporting is going down if the culture isn't there of reporting. So I'd be interested in your perspective, having come in relatively recently. So you're coming in with a cold set of eyes. I'm interested in your perspective about the culture generally in terms of health and safety generally and reporting specifically.
Yeah, so I'll raise this with the LT committee as well, is that we have a lot of reporting within the main building, which seems to be going really well. So I think the culture in the main building is really strong. Where I would think we would see a lot more incidences or near misses would be outside of the building in the community. And currently, again, really low response rates out there. And so it could be one of two reasons. It could be that they're really high focused on health and safety, which I believe some of them could appear in the chart, or it could be that they're not reporting as well. So we've seen a couple of reports in the last little while that have evidence that they are doing some reporting. So I'm reasonably confident at this stage, but I think always we can build a greater culture, and so that's what the goal is. Yeah.
And just based on your experience, how would you, in your experience, how do you continue to build a culture where reporting is not a nuisance, but it's actually a really important component of keeping you and your colleagues safe?
So I think it's about creating the awareness around health and safety. And so you can see some of the evidence of what we're trying to do there with the Ōtorohanga, for example, which was originally 3 monthly, now we're going monthly. So that's getting coming out more often. So people are seeing that more often. What some of the plans are for next year and going into it is that we want to be running optional. You know, staff can come to optional sessions around various health and safety topics, so that they can increase their learning about it. And then also eventually we'll get to a stage where we're putting out to staff, you know, giving them information about how health and safety weather is, you know, reports on various things for those sort of aspects. And then final aspects is making health and safety easy for people. If it becomes inconvenient, then they don't do it. So we're looking at how we do make it all the forms and everything accessible to staff. So that's one of the things we're looking at in early 2025, so that they can just pick it up and go there. So that's where we're at.
Right. Okay. All right. We'll carry on that conversation as we hear from you every quarter.
Through you, Chair, just one of the initiatives that Noah's colleague Tracy has come up with, and Emma, is around acknowledging our safe drivers, because we get e-road information from our vehicles. So tomorrow we have our final staff meeting of the year, and they've asked if they can acknowledge a few people who are demonstrating that they are driving in a safe manner out on the roads. So yeah, just little things like that to keep the conversation alive and recognise and reward, I think, where possible is good as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Tony. Anyone else got anything else for Noah? Steve?
Thank you, Chair. Just going on about the the health and safety out in the field. So I think leadership out in the field is quite important, because if you've got a staff turnover and that sort of thing, so are you happy with the safety leadership you've got out in the field? So if you've got a dedicated person who's out in the field, who's making sure that new staff are buying into the culture and that sort of thing, because that's very important. With new people come in and don't necessarily follow, or may not have been involved in that culture before, but coming into it. So is there a person in the field who's actually controlling that?
Yes, so we're very fortunate to have one of our facilities team, Arnold. He's on our health and safety committee, and he's very strong at health and safety. So he's helping him and Dom is also very into it. What we are looking also to have a team leader of orders, and that person will be responsible for the operation of the team out here. So they can go out and field with him, and they'll also be responsible for health and safety. So it's just getting more people out there, which is great.
Does the reporting tend to be done through those guys? So if another staff member has a concern, so they take it to Dom, it's to you, or are they reporting directly? Is there a system where they say they can just report directly to you over any incidents rather than going through a chain?
They're more than welcome to report directly, but because they have close connections with the reps in the area, they tend to go through.
That's fine. That's probably a good idea. I think that's always when you're dealing with yourself, you're dealing with lots of different people. You know, it can be a little more difficult than going through one channel. So that's good thinking.
Brilliant. Thanks, Noah. Much appreciated. Thanks for the efforts you're putting in, and we look forward to talking to you again in a quarter's time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, sorry. Can I just ask one through the policy? Yeah. No, to what extent do we actually monitor the health and safety policies of the people that we employ, like the contractors? Do we insist that before when we award a contract, for example, that they have to produce a health and safety policy, or do we monitor that in any way? Or?
And the contractors?
Yes.
Yes. So we have a system called She Prequel. And so to be a contractor for our organisation, you have to have gone through that system. And so that's making sure that they've done all the checks, e.g. you have plans, you have policies, you have all those equipment in place and everything like that. So we have we pay it through Collab, or a company that looks after that for us, and then we can just go and check to make sure that they have got that qualification or that check off. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Noah.
Can I just
Of course.
Yeah.
You're a popular man, Noah. We can't let you go.
Look, this is just very operational and probably a conversation for us to have our meeting and properly involving Mark. But just like, for example, your contractors for rural water schemes, when you're a distance from town or to the yard, we have a very well-established community use response group and an AET and all the systems and the network set up. That was, like, you know, if you wanted to tap into that, and I could, so, you know, happy to talk about that.
Yeah, great to talk about. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Noah.
Thank you.
Okay. Capital projects, Mark, good morning, welcome. What I think we're doing is working right here. Trying to see all the places that are decisions being made. Thanks. Good morning, Mark, welcome.
Oh, that's it on.
Okay, so is there anything in particular you wanted to tell us today, Mark?
No, probably just a couple of things, Mr. Chairman, just probably just a couple of updates because of the closeness of the risk and assurance and council meeting yesterday. You'll see in my report, I detailed about the 2 reports on the local water done well. That went in front of council yesterday. So just to report on that, obviously the bigger report was received and the heads of agreement report was resolved to continue to sign and stay in that program. So just that. And the other one was just around the majority of our sort of capital works at the moment are roading activity, as you'll see in there, while we're sort of working through a more of a design stage for the 3 waters, following the program philosophy we used in the last LTP around 3-year program rather than a single year by year. So which worked really well, and it's pleasing to report that the last section of the wastewater upgrade is happening today, which will bring that 3-year program works to conclusion, apart from a few odds and ends that need to be tidied up. So that's really pleasing. And the other thing, just to sort of keep in everyone's mind, is just the sludge issues down at the wastewater treatment pond. The latest survey has revealed sludge than we anticipated. We're just reviewing the contract at the moment to remove the sludge planned for this year, the annual plan, the long-term plan, and we're looking at how much more we can potentially remove within the existing budgets to make use of the dredge while it's there. So, and just the other side of that is obviously the disposal of it. And we're working around some other options there, which will actually build into our solid waste program going forward, which I'm having conversations with Jared about that at the moment. We're treating it just like any other waste stream council has. So they're probably the only few things I wanted to add. But yeah, take questions.
Thank you. Okay, questions, colleagues?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. One question, Mark. It was in relation to the Ōtorohanga water supply. Still no form of support received from Tamati Arawai. What's happening there?
So we've had nothing official in writing, but I have got a meeting planned this week. I think it's tomorrow actually. I have to check my diary, but the area manager's coming down to meet with me in response to the request that we sent through, request for further information. So I hope to get a bit of a steer tomorrow.
Right. I'll be good to get that one sorted out. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's important that we have their support, but my reading of the Local Government Act is we only have to consult. So at this stage, we're forging on with our timeline. So if we can get that in place, it would be much better.
Good on you.
We can't wait.
Yeah. And the only other thing I just wanted to say, if you can pass, compliments on to the contractors involved for the work that was done on Ōtorohanga Road. I thought that was an excellent job done there, and before time. They, I think the original completion date was the 18th of December, and I think they've completed it well before that, and it looks like a pretty good job. You happy with the job they've done?
Yeah, I drove over it on Thursday on the way to Carfair, and I think that's a really good example of closing a road to carry out a considerable amount of work. It probably had quite a large cost saving as far as traffic management. Plus, the team can actually get in there and open up big sections of the road that have traffic flow. And it was quite lucky in that area we had that alternate route through State Line 30 km. But the product, finished product, and the time it took was a reflection of the fact that the road was closed at that period.
Councillor Hughes.
Chair. It just stole my thunder a bit on the Ōtorohanga Road thing, but I will say that it was pleasing to see the positive comments in the local media over it. That was, I mean, reputationally for the council, that's great, because the local residents were, by all accounts, very pleased, and the story sort of they shone through in that story. So no, congratulations to Paul and you and the grading team.
Thanks. Your worship.
Yeah, kia ora. Hey, back to the desludging, budgeted at 250,000, and you said they found significantly more sludge in there than anticipated, and just keep in mind what Tomo's cost overruns were with desludging as well. What impact do you think that potentially could have on our budgets for the annual plan for next year?
Well, we hope to do it in this year. So talking to Kumar, he estimates probably between another 30 and 40,000 to take that remaining sludge, or have make a very good dent in it. So we're just looking at our budgets currently, and sort of looking at what money we can offset towards putting it into the desludging. If it gets to a point where there's insufficient budget there, we might have to come back to council, but we hope to deal with it this year. Obviously trying to use the dredge while it's on site, because we don't want to have to re-establish it. And it's all around that inlet zone, which is where a lot of it drops out. So we're also doing some work on actually trying to understand what our sludge profile is, which sort of feeds back into the LTP budgets around the inlet works around grit separation, etc. So there's a little bit of work going on in that space. But I mean, it's just one of those things. It's everything that goes down the drain ends up in that pond eventually.
If I could just jump in there as well. Your worship, we're traditionally loan funded that desludging, even though effectively it's an operational expense, because it's not done every year. We've spread that cost, and would have been reasonably happy with it.
Just a couple of questions, Mark. First of all, just going back to the purpose of your report, it's to outline any material risks. I didn't see any material risks. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. I mean, we're very early into the 3-year LTP, so they're only, just the risks are probably just the few I've highlighted. Other than that, we're in a pretty good space.
Okay, and then forgive me and forgive us for my colleagues. I didn't have a foggy clue what paragraphs 5.5 and 5.6 meant. Could you just take me through it?
5.5. So basically, the local share, or what we've called the unmatched local share, with the reduced funding through the NZTA or the NLTP fund, we've taken that local share and we've applied part of it to capital, 600,000 to capital,
Right.
70,000 to operating projects, which is the driver licensing program.
Right.
And we've retained 375 for potentially, should we have any NCTA funding become available in this year, we'll be able to match it. So it's sort of in reserve. That's how it's just quickly reading that. Yeah.
No, that now makes sense to me. Thank you. That's really good. Okay, anyone else got anything else? Great, thank you, Mark. Okay, Brendan, outstanding management letter of points from the most recent annual report. Welcome, good morning. Thanks for your update. Is there anything, Brendan, that you wanted to add before we get into questions?
No, I don't think so. Actually, everything's pretty much as it was in the report. Nothing changed. I've got the final letter back from Deloitte with the management responses in it. I think I put it back. I sent the responses. Yeah, so that letter's been finalised now anyway.
Okay. And we're confident, Graham and Brendan, that the 7 that are outstanding will be nailed before the auditors turn up for next year?
Yes, I'm fairly confident they will be. Whether it's to their satisfaction is obviously their call, but yeah, I'm pretty sure we can address all of those.
Yeah, that's the deal we have.
Yes.
Don't accept anything you can't solve within the year. Okay, cool. Any questions, anyone?
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
it.
Chairman. Yeah, it's just, it was a question, I guess. In the first table where we've got the green items,
Yes.
items completed, the third and fourth items, are indicating that they're actually not completed, that you're in the process of doing other things to complete. I just wondered whether they're better flagged as orange ones. That was all.
Yeah, that's, I guess with the conflict of interest one, that's probably valid. I think with the mass file changes, that's pretty much resolved. It was literally just those last bit, making sure nothing's going to cause any issues. So I treated it as green because it is practically fixed. It's just literally making the changes. The conflict of interest one, yes, I guess if we went through this trialing and it didn't work out, I had a suggestion that it's not a process or anything, it's not working, then yeah, probably would have to go with something else and possibly that would make more sense in an orange.
Yeah, okay. It's just that, yeah, from my perspective, I think unless it ticks the box, it shouldn't be in the green.
Right. Yep, fair enough. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Okay, all right, we're making great progress, Brendan. Thank you. Let's turn now to the outstanding debtors report. I've got a few questions about this. Is there anything, Brendan, that you wanted to add before we get into those questions?
I will address, so Councillor Jeffrey sent me an email yesterday morning, I believe it was, with a question around the rates, the 24-25 rates, and how that relates to the table. So I guess the one thing that's possibly not as clear in here as it should be. So the table of the rates of the age stuff, that's the stuff that we now have the ability through the Rating Act to pursue using all those sorts of things. That's everything older than a year. So this year's stuff doesn't sit in that table because it hasn't reached that threshold yet that we can then go through the various legal mechanisms we have for mortgagee sale, claiming for mortgagees or rating sales or abandoned land, all those sorts of things. So that's why that 24-25 figure isn't sitting on the table. So you just asked the questions to why it wasn't where it was, just to clarify.
Does that resolve that for you, Kit?
Well, it doesn't, in the sense that, I guess the question is, the figure that shows here for the total arrears at the end of November.
Yeah.
Doesn't include, as I understand, 663,000.
No, for this year, no.
Yeah, so the table, in my view, then is incorrect. It's not showing the true arrears picture as at the 30th of November. That's what I was trying to. Yeah, So whether it's just a change in the table and we introduce another line there, I don't know, but I spent some time trying to work out where that 663,000 was, and I just couldn't see it, so hence the question.
Yeah, I guess historically, the reason why we haven't put it in there is because it's only becomes arrears at a certain point. So for the previous month's report, it may not have actually been arrears at that point. It might have still been due, but not actually the date had passed yet, but it became arrears. So I guess putting that extra line in the table could confuse things because you've got figures that look like they're arrears, but they're not actually.
So the point the distinction you're trying to draw, Brendan, is the non-accountant in this conversation, is the difference between overdue and unpaid.
Yeah.
Okay. And what you're saying is those are the rates that are currently unpaid. They're not necessarily overdue.
The 663, yes. Yeah.
I get it.
Because some are paying through direct debits, some are paying through automatic payments, which means they get remissions on their penalties at the end of the year. So they haven't actually paid by the due date for that first installment, but they may actually pay it by the end of the year. Whereas everything else on the table is stuff that relates to previous years has been paid. So I guess that's where the distinction is. I take what Councillor Jeffrey says that it is a bit confusing that it's not the total, and maybe I need to add a couple extra lines saying the current year's rates not paid, but then have a total that includes all the arrears and that as well.
Okay. I see we've been joined by the star of the operation, Teresa. Teresa, would you like to join us at the table? Because we're going to get into our favourite topic, which is collections. It's certainly my favourite topic anyway, because I love cash.
Thank you, Chairman.
Teresa, I just wanted to ask you, we've got quite a lot of money there and I'm looking now at the debtors section. Quite a lot of money there where you're still negotiating payment arrangements. Can you just tell me why that's so large? So the 296,110. I think there's
Most
a
of
simple
that is-
answer to say.
Yeah, most of that is the 277,000 that was in the previous line that we talked about earlier, the development contributions.
Right.
So you take that out, you're down to 9,000.
So we're where we would expect to be at this time. Okay. And then when you look at the arrears of rates, particularly going back multiple years, Teresa, all of those people are, of course, being subsidised by their fellow ratepayers. And it's quite a fair chunk of dough, isn't it? Do you want to just comment on your approach in relation to these old arrears?
Yep, certainly, Mr. Chairman. So we've, like, I think last time we talked about Debt Management Central, who was switched to, which has been the best move we've ever done. So they are very proactive. So currently we've got 3 rating sales lodged with them. One of them will probably be settling today. So that's really great. Another one is seeking financial help, and the other one, because it's a split relationship, they're waiting to serve a notice to him. So that's all in process. One abandoned land, which is also in process. The other area that we have is out at Kawhia. It's Maori freehold land.
Yeah.
And Tūtuma Paeroa are the administrators of that land. And I just did some research into legislation, and under the Maori Reserved Land Act, 80B, if the lessee has not kept their rates and that all up to date, then we can actually go back to Tūtuma Paeroa because they've actually breached their contract. So I've got 2 of them there at the moment. And I actually got an email this morning from Sharon who said they are at the point of going out to visit the properties to see if anybody's in there. So that together is 50K.
Right.
So, yeah, just trying to be very proactive. There is a couple we can't do anything about. There's one particular one that it's Maori freehold land. Many, many years ago, they took them to court. Whether they ever paid that money, I have no idea. So, you know, we've got 2, I think, which really there's, you know, you could take them to court, they might never pay it. It's really more a waiting game because you can't sell Maori freehold land. And a lot of them are a whole lot of owners all tied up together. And if they're not 100% in agreement, then you've lost. You've got nowhere.
So the news is not all bad, Teresa. When you
Yes.
look at your total arrears from October 23, sitting at, by my calculations, about 400K. You've got that down to about 300K today, so it's certainly reduced. When you deduct, Teresa, just roughly in your mind, the Māori freehold land, which can't obviously be sold, does that leave you with still about 250,000 of ordinary freehold land, which could be the subject of a rating sale?
You can't sell Mary freehold land.
I know that.
Yeah,
but
sorry. Yeah,
If you
Oh,
deduct
sorry.
from your 300K,
yes.
your Māori freehold land, which I thought you said was around about 50K in total debt.
That's Te Tunga Paeroa, so
Okay, so one.
that we'll be able to, the other one at the moment is sitting up around about 75K. But there is also a couple of more out at Hauturu, which we're trying to negotiate. There's about 7 properties out there. So yeah, you probably will be close to that 250.
Okay, so you're obviously focused on trying to drive that number down as fast as possible.
Yes.
Right, excellent. Okay, and then Teresa, in terms of water debts, over 90 days sitting at 113. That is that overdue or unpaid? Or a combination?
Yeah, it's probably a combination.
Which is why presumably the numbers ebb and flow a little bit, Brendan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because our water billings is 2 separate groups of cycles.
Forgive the rather cack-handed.
Yeah.
It was unintentional. So let me put it this way, Teresa. When you think about the state of the overdue debts in water, is there anything that worries you? Or is it from your perspective, business as usual?
Yes, I think so, Mr. Chairman. We've just recently done the mortgagees, like when the arrears, if they've got a mortgage, we can, request that from the bank. I've also included those ones that have got water outstanding as well, which we can do up to the 30th of June each year. So there'll probably be a good, a bit of that will be in amongst that as well.
At least one of those rating sales, which is rates outstanding.
Okay.
Yes.
So then, final question for you, Teresa. When you think about the work that you're doing, is there anything in particular that really worries you?
No, I don't think so. I think we've just, as I said, I think debt management has just been great at that. Just, really great support. For me personally, I now have my networking and other, because that conference I went to did some networking. So now I have other council that can advise.
Right.
We can work together about,
Excellent.
ideas about how we can go about this. Carolyn Dudley in Far North, they have lots of Māori land. She's been a great resource. And so I think that's just what we have to do. We have to use examples and really know our legislation. That's the big part.
Well, we really appreciate your work, Teresa. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for Teresa? Councillor Prendergast.
Well, it may not be a question for Teresa, it might be Brendan, but just to, well, probably Tanya actually, just to ask if you've got enough resources, the department seems to be a huge ongoing. That's not going to stop at the current time, so.
Yes, I think, Teresa is the only one doing it, but I guess with the support of Debt Management Central, a lot of the stuff, once it gets to a certain point, we pass off and they do a lot of the chasing and all that sort of stuff. Just liaison with them. It's the debt management is all of Teresa's role. She's not spending all her time on debt management. She's got great other things she's doing, but it's a big part of it. I think her thoughts are.
Yeah. Councillor Kathy, we have like on the staff, there's Carmen and Natasha as well, and Tasha's very helpful. So there's a bit of maintenance, like when we get the notice of sales and things like that. So Tash will process those and then I will do the maintenance on those. And that's like at the moment, the ratings, like the sales are just every day. I'm really staggered at the movement that's happening within Ōtorohanga here with sales, and they're not just local, they're all over New Zealand that are looking at buying houses here.
Property sales.
Property sales, sorry, yes, I'll better
Interesting.
breaking down, property sales, yeah. Property sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I get the support within the team and, you know, I think even with Brendan, we have a, you know, regular catch-ups and I can throw things at him. No, I don't, no, sorry, no, I don't throw things at him, I do.
Not literally.
Not literally. So, you know, yeah, so I do have, Brendan as my bouncing board. with
Yeah,
things.
I'm conscious, as I'm sure you deeply are, that every dollar you can bring in the door is a dollar that Brendan and Graham don't have to raise from elsewhere, and it's a dollar that Tanya and her team can spend on community benefit.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
I guess just on the resource, another resource that Teresa started growing quite a bit is Kerry, who's our manager of property. So she's quite helpful in terms of that legislation and understanding property types of things. So Teresa with Kerry and certain things too. So that also helps.
So that's great, but, and this is possibly another operation, which,
Mhm.
how do we currently do get payments by direct?
I mean, we can put inserts in the rates, we can put things in social media. I mean, you can't force people to do it, obviously. It's just promoted as much as we can. I know some councils do, they'll do draws and stuff like that if you sign up for a debit this year. To a Prezi card or something like that. We haven't looked at doing that previously. I mean, you do have issues with that and that you're using ratepayers' money to pay for improvement or something else. You get some of this necessarily paying your rates, so you're rewarding people that possibly aren't doing things properly. So
I think I'd stand on ceremony on that. I mean, the reality is that anything that you can do to free up
Yeah.
Teresa's time to focus more on core hard debt issues makes sense, I think.
yeah,
Mr. Chairman, I think we also use the pop-ups, so when the customer services go out, we encourage them to, direct debits and also rates rebates. Because there's a lot out there, I really believe that are eligible for rates rebates that aren't using that facility.
Interesting.
Mm.
Thanks, Kevin. Councillor Kate.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman. It's more of just a general comment, but I'm very interested in trends and so with the large rate increase that we had for 24-25.
Yep.
And another one on the cards at this stage, 25-26. I'm just interested to know how that affects your percentage of rates unpaid. Like you've got 7.6% unpaid for at the end of November. But is that higher than it was for the previous 12 months? Are we trending up as rates increase? Because I guess the affordability is an issue for a lot of people, isn't it? And so there's potentially a risk there.
Yeah.
That by increasing our rates, we're going to get that figure increasing.
yes. I think when I did look at that, I very briefly looked at it, was put the report together. In absolute dollar terms, it's gone up obviously because you've had an increase in rates. I think percentage wise was about the same as what it was the same time last year to date. Obviously, even comparing year to year, same end of November, for example, you will have some fluctuations because some people, while some are paying direct debits and some are paying automatic payments, some people pay random payments when they can, sort of thing, through the year. So you might have someone who's made a big payment at the just before the end of November. This year they do it in December, so you do get fluctuations, but it was fairly consistent.
Just consistent with that question, Brett. I'm interested in the growth of rate pays year on year. So Teresa made the interesting point about lots of sales. I'd imagine most of those transactions are basically turnover of existing stock.
Mm.
What I'm really interested in, as I'm sure all the councillors will be, is the extent to which the rate payer base is growing. Do you have off the top of your head a figure in percentage terms as to the extent to which the district's rate payer base is growing? Because fundamentally, the way to get more money is to get more rate payers.
Yeah.
Previous side issues around cost of service.
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously this financial year compared to last financial year, had an increase in properties because the subdivision, 60 something lots. And then we'll probably, I'm assuming once the next stage comes on board, that will increase then. Percentage wise,
Sorry, to interrupt, but presumably the infrastructure associated with that subdivision has been paid for through development contributions.
it was paid for. Subsequent increase in assets. Yeah. So yeah, so that was probably, so we've got about 5,000 rated properties, 5,1, 5,2 or something. So we probably had an increase of about 100 odd year on year, so 2%-ish. But obviously it's the same every year. I mean, I could do the work to go back through each year, because we report, you know, each year what the.
Here's a question for Nadia. Nadia, you're in charge of the development of the LTP, is that right? So when you think about the work that you folks have done, Nadia, just in terms of growth forecasts, and you may need to go and consult something, but off the top of your head, what's your sense about and what forecasts have you used for the growth in the ratepayer base over the next 10-year period for the LTP?
I might need Ross to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we've used Waikato University's growth estimates.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're part of a collaborative arrangement that does involve Waikato University, and the team there utilize a combination of census data and then local information, which the likes of our council provide to give a local flavour. Unfortunately, the delay in the timing of the release of the census data that's most relevant as we're talking about means we won't be in a position to have that updated for probably the best part of another 12 months. So we've used the previous set of data, which is obviously based on the 2018 census. So in essence, yes. So in essence, we look to be tracking at about 1% growth per annum. And that seems to be borne out in the census population and dwelling estimates that came out in June of this year.
Okay. Presumably you're building consent to be able to provide some useful data and just differentiating between effectively renovations and new building consents.
Yes, and we've had the conversation internally not that long ago, trying to get a sense of what's the consented capacity versus the actual development that's occurring on the ground. Of course, there's always going to be a lag, and we'll never, in my view, get to fulfill that capacity for various reasons. And there'll be other developments that come on stream. So we are quite right in contact with the building team, and things are steady as she goes.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you. Councillor Campbell.
So just, sorry, just one more question, and it relates to Waikeria. That's a billion, as I understand, $1 billion project out there. There's no suggestion that they won't be paying their rates. There's nothing that I've heard. I assume that Waikeria.
What would you like to happen, councillor Jeffrey?
I'd like Waikeria to be paying their rates, yeah. So there's,
I mean, they paid this year's rates. They paid both installments, the first installment. Okay, sure. They also, and this year's valuation included a partial increase in the value to reflect the work done today. Yeah, the valuation was done back in October 22. Yeah. So they've already had a bit of an increase this year with, I guess, the rest of the building work probably come on, they finalise it all. Hopefully that'll be at the 1 July next year, so we can increase rates for them.
yeah, because the capital value of that particular property must affect the capital values across the whole district, really.
It definitely changed the incidence of the district.
That's right.
The district rates and the rating rates.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay. So I just wanted to make sure that we were still on track with them. Because yes, yeah.
Councillor Jeffries, I know somebody that can go out there and sort them out. As long as they don't keep me out there.
Is that person in the room or?
Just like an add to that too, like corrections that approach us, a number of years ago when their development started about, council establishing a differential for Waikeria, but it's been radio silence since, you know, so that they certainly haven't come back to us. So at the moment they'll pay exactly the same rate per dollar as the rest of everyone else in the district.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you very much, Brendan. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
Okay, what I thought we might do is we're making really good progress. We've got one paper to go before we are into the workshops. So why don't we take 5 minutes, get a cup of coffee, comfort break, maybe more of the mayor's cake, and we'll be back in touch in about 5 or 10 minutes. Thanks for your. Thank you. Thanks for your paper. Graham, we'll take it as read. Particularly in relation to the Kiwi House, and I know that I think council made a decision yesterday or the day before in relation to that. Is there anything that you particularly wanted to add, Graham, before we get into questions?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I guess the only thing I'd like to add, just around the comments there in 4.1. So we've contracted David Robson from Aon to work as a risk advisor on a 2-year contract for 10K a year. So on Monday, which was after I had written this report, council's leadership team met with David in person. And I guess it was just a meet and greet, but I mean, David outlined what he could do in his capacity as a risk advisor, and he had a number of I guess key points that he thought we could cover off. One of them was around a maturity assessment. We were in the risk space, looking at our risk appetite, but also to improve our risk reporting to this committee and to leadership team as well, and how we manage operational risks within the council. So I think we'll kick off with that in the new year. So I think once we kind of get that underway, we'll see this report, improve considerably, in terms of how we're managing those risks. And I take the point from the last meeting that there's no, I guess, statement in here around changing operational risk. So I see that as being part of this report. As far as the Kiwi House goes, it's really
just on that.
Sorry, yeah.
That's a fantastic initiative.
Yeah.
Well done. Would you anticipate that David would be coming to these meetings in the future, Graham?
Yeah, I think, certainly the discussions that we had with them, I mean, it's pretty much an open book, Mr. Chair. I think he would do whatever we wanted him to do. And so he was, he even said as far as, I mean, he's quite happy to come and, present reports. It's I guess from our point of view, it's whether we use them in a support role, or whether how deep we want to go. And I think like we need to be able to at some stage stand on our own 2 feet, and so I sort of see that he's it would be good to have him here to answer questions, but I think that gradually over the next couple of years we need to utilise his expertise as much as we can, and build that knowledge.
Okay, well, I'll leave it to your judgment as to the extent to which you want him to appear in front of the committee. That's helpful. Thank you. Okay, let's turn now to you. Sorry, I interrupted you. Are you going to make some comments in relation to the Kiwi House?
Yeah. Sorry, Michael. Yeah, with the Kiwi House, I mean, there's been a number of reports that have come to this committee. There's been a number of reports that have come to council. So I think everybody here is aware of the situation, aware of the risks. So it was really just to give an update on where we're at. Yesterday, council approved a $30,000 short-term loan to do the butcher's floor within their animal nutrition centre. It's likely that they're going to be another report come to council in the new year for the balance of the 200K, which would be another 170,000 that they're awaiting funding for IRG. We've had conversations obviously with Stephen Hamilton. He's had conversations with the trust. There's things are happening pretty quickly, and I think we're moving at at a good pace, and I'm happy with where we're at the moment.
Certainly, I've had a separate conversation with Stephen, effectively at the after our meeting last week, which was really helpful. And I thought what I'd do is convey to members the essence of that conversation when we get into the workshop after the end of this meeting. Does anyone, recognising that we're in open session, does anyone have any questions that they wanted to ask Graham over this? Excellent. Well, I think Kai would probably set a new record, haven't we? Because I think we are at the end of the meeting. Now, you were going to remind me, but unfortunately I'm not so old that I could forget. We need to pass a resolution to receive all of the reports. So I'll move that and it'll be seconded by Councillor Prendergast. Excellent. Nothing else. On that basis, I'll declare the meeting closed and wish you and your families a very Merry Christmas and a very restful, well-deserved break. I think we've made some really good progress this year, as John Mitchell made famous. We are on a journey, and I think it's really important that we demonstrate that we're making progress in terms of taking a more sophisticated and mature approach to management of risk, which, as I keep saying, is simply the flip side of the getting stuff done coin. So risk is not in and of itself important. What is important is that it's a part and parcel of getting stuff done. And I know that you're all here for the very reason that you want to get stuff done for the benefits of your community. So I'm certainly very pleased with the work that we've all done together in terms of improving our sense of risk and getting stuff done more effectively and efficiently. So thank you very much for your contribution. And as I say, have a fabulous Christmas and very much look forward to working with you in the new year. On that basis, I'll declare the meeting closed. Thank you.